Assalamu alaikum, welcome to Debate Aya program, and I am your host Tariq Khan. Today we'll explore and analyze the current situation in Afghanistan and what is the role of regional players for the peace in Afghanistan. So today Dr. Farah Naz from National University of Science and Technology, NUST, has joined us to discuss on Afghanistan issue and the role of regional players in Afghanistan. Dr. Farah, thank you so much for joining the Debate program, and you are most welcome.
Thank you very much, Tariq, for having me.
Dr. Farah, how would you analyze and explore the current situation in Afghanistan under Taliban regime, and especially the withdrawal of United States of America from Afghanistan? How would you analyze?
Well, the current situation in Afghanistan, it's very complex, and it's getting more and more complex with each passing day. Because now the issue is between survival and governance issues for the Taliban. So which one should we prioritize? Whether we should go with securing the Afghan population first, or we work towards, establishing a strong government in Kabul, which is acceptable to everyone, including the Afghan populations, ethnic minorities, and the Western world and the regional players as well. So the issue is very complex because we have to weigh whether Afghan populations and their survival comes first or the Taliban regimes comes first. So to me, I think this is a very alarming situation where human life should be prioritized and considered above all. And I think providing them the basic medicines, the food, shelter, protection, security and all, I think that is very important. And in this harsh weather, where they are not only striving for food, but they are striving for medicine as well. Women, they are facing lots of issues in terms of their gynae issues, where there are no facilitation available in the hospitals for them. And those facilitations, it's not because of that suddenly the doctors vanished. They don't have the financial resources to fund and to support them. So they don't have, the government don't have the medicine to provide them. So in this situation, I think the Western powers, the regional powers, and the Taliban government, like all from individual to regional to international level, each one of them have to contribute to securing the life of the Afghan first, in terms of all the food, medication, and basic rights that is their due right to have, to be here as living beings. But when it comes to the Afghan population and the Taliban government, there is a huge issue of trust and mistrust prevailing there. So the population, the Afghan population, bulk of them, they are confused over the laws that the Taliban are trying to impose here in Afghanistan. They are struggling with understanding what sort of Sharia Taliban are going to impose upon them. Here, they always raise concerns, the Afghan population, they always raise concerns about what sort of Sharia and how to define the Sharia law. So to me, I think defining Sharia law for anyone, irrespective of who is living in Afghanistan or in Pakistan or any other Muslim country or in the Western countries, for each one of us defining Sharia and saying that these were the basic principles of Sharia laws prevailing in that country is very difficult and challenging. So I think to overcome the barriers between the Afghan population and the new Taliban regime, they have to come to a common ground. And that common ground can only be possible if the Taliban and the Afghan population, they establish trustworthy or some kind of dialogue with one another. So for that dialogue and discussion, I think when it comes to the women empowerment in particular, it's hard for the Taliban at this stage to welcome and receive women from all strata of the society sitting there across the table, where they are not only trained but socially equipped to deal with those women in the offices. So time is required. So at this stage, if men can initiate and they can group together with societies and communities together and then represent their issues to the Taliban government, I think that will be the only solution to the problem. The current numbers, the economic numbers, that shows that Kabul and in generally Afghanistan is going through a lot of turmoil, and there's a drought happening, and they probably will be needing more and more wheat to be imported from other countries. So before even this situation, they had to spend $1 billion on the wheat import. So if there is a drop, what happened is they have to, the production of the wheat or the requirement of the wheat will drop another from 47 to 37%. So with that, they have to spend another $1 billion on the wheat import. So from where they're going to pay all of these bills where they are not financially stable enough to pay the bills that they have to pay for their basic needs. So I think in this entire game, it's important that the West and United States in particular should release the fundings that is due right of the Afghan population, and to overcome all the difficulties and the economic difficulties and challenges that Taliban and the Afghan population are facing. So to overcome that, I think release of the funds are essential, and providing humanitarian assistance is very essential.
Dr. Farah, how do you view the regional players' role in Afghanistan, especially the neighboring countries, neighboring Central Asian states' role in Afghanistan? How would you analyze?
Central Asian state, I think peace and stability, that is very essential when it comes to regional prosperity and development. So if the West fails, is it a win for China or Russia in this region to overcome the vacuum that the West has left behind? These are several questions that, and very important and pertinent questions that comes to mind. So the region, South Asia, it is home to around 2 billion people. So peace and stability of Afghanistan is important for the peace and stability of this entire 2 billion people. And I would say including the people in China and even in Russia, because we not only share borders with one another, but we share a lot of economic and security prosperity with each other. So for the financial support and to enhance connectivity and for the infrastructure development, a peaceful and stable Afghanistan is required. So China has strengthened its economic ties with South Asian countries through the BRI, which is one of the flagship projects that it is conducted, that it has initiated here. And China and Afghanistan, they both are very important in this entire BRI project. Afghanistan, in terms of lying in the intersection of the South Asia and Central Asia, West Asia, Afghanistan has significance for China's BRI and its successful implementation. It has the potential to become the gateway to Afghanistan, it has the potential to become the gateway to Central Asia and Western Asia. So through Afghanistan, the CPAC project, which is a very mega project of China, it can be executed it can be extended to Central and West Asia. So a peaceful Afghanistan, a prosperous Afghanistan, a stable Afghanistan is in the best interest of the regional states. And the new Taliban government, when they got in power, I think China was one of the first countries with whom the new leadership, the Taliban leadership, they started having diplomatic relations with them. And they considered the Taliban, the new Taliban regime, they call China its most important partner. So the message is very loud and clear, where America, as the superpower of the world, is losing its strength in the world these days with its fall, its economic problems and all of that, where China is emerging as another superpower, as a competitor. So in China is more closer to Afghanistan as compared to the US, which is supposed to be in its own time. So that shows how important these regional states are for one another and what role China play in this game. So China is already, I think before the takeover of the new Taliban regime, China was engaged in spending $3 billion in copper mining in Afghanistan. And China is now emboldened to fill the power vacuum created by the United States on its chaotic withdrawal. So I think America is itself doing a lot of bad to itself by leaving behind the vacuum. And I've constantly emphasized in my writing pieces, in my media appearances, that it's not in the best interest of America to leave this vacuum and to create this vacuum, because whenever there is a vacuum in international relations theories, it is said that when there is a vacuum, the foreign instigators, they fill in those vacuums. So America is leaving behind this vacuum, not only for China, but also for Russia as well. Now, in this situation, Russia considers it as a further milestone on the way to a multipolarity and world power. So the goals for Moscow to achieve in this Afghanistan situations are three to me. To have the number one is to have a current instability in Afghanistan must not spread beyond its borders, because when the instability spread beyond its borders, it will have direct implications and consequences for the instability and prosperity of the regional states and Russia as well. So the second point is the transnational terrorist groups like the Islamic State, Khorasan, or Al Qaeda should be prevented from regaining its foothold in Afghanistan and conducting operations across the border. And the third one is transiting this country, like these terrorist groups transiting from Afghanistan to the other regional states. So for both these emerging power blocs, China and Russia, I think eliminating terrorism is very, very important. And for China, it is the ETIM, the East Turkmenistan Islamic Movement, and for Russia, as well as I say, Islamic State and Al Qaeda, and some of the Uzbeks as well. So these terrorists, for them, no usage of Afghan soil by terrorist organizations and for conducting waste activities across the border is one of the major barriers which Taliban in Afghanistan have to prevent. So there are two things that I always emphasize upon. One is the security, that is the non-usage of the soil for terrorism across the borders or in the region. And the second one is economic ties. So in terms of economic ties, the BRI, as I mentioned earlier, is very, very important to all these regional states. Call it China, Russia, Central Asia, Pakistan, Afghanistan, all have some kind of, connection here because it provides access to different regional states. Another thing is the poppy cultivation in Afghanistan. If you look at when America was here in Afghanistan for the past 20 years, there was a drastic increase in the poppy cultivation. If you look at the graphs, in 2019, there was a 37% increase in the poppy cultivation. And by 2020, the gate value of the poppy was around $350 million US dollars. So there's a lot of market in the poppy cultivation in Afghanistan, and all these regional states, including China, Russia, they're aware of its importance. And I am 100% sure America is also very well aware of its significance, because when America was here, there are some kind of speculations that America probably funded its war on terror through the poppy cultivation here in Afghanistan. After that, like BRI, the infrastructure development projects, and the poppy cultivation, then the mineral and natural resources in Afghanistan, why it makes it so important for the regional states. So it's home to all the world rare natural resources like uranium, coal, bauxite, iron ore, copper, gold, oil, natural gas, chromium, etc. So many are there. So all these states, they are very much keen about that how to take advantage of the situation in Afghanistan by they did like in such a way which can give benefit to the Afghan population as well, but at the same time they can also reap certain benefits. End of the day, in the realist paradigm, it's all the game of interest, right? So it's in the best interest of all the regional states to utilize whatever Afghanistan is offering to all these powerful states. As I said, like all these key stakeholders, they have their strong interest here. It's a game of interest. They're not doing it. They're very keen about helping, supporting Afghanistan alone. So Turkey and Iran, they also have their interest here. But Iran, I can see that are always and always present. They're not very obvious, but of course they're there. In case of Turkey being a NATO ally, I think Turkey somehow, it's my analysis, maybe I'm wrong, maybe time will tell, but somehow Turkey is losing its grounds here. And even if you remember, Tariq, when the American troops were withdrawing from Afghanistan, Turkey was the last one who was staying there. So it could be due to the religious concerns, or it could be due to the Muslim ties and all of that. But still, I think building trust on someone who was already here, in case of Turkey, who was already here and they were fighting with the enemy of Taliban. One more time, if Taliban will be ready to have negotiations with Turkey or not, time will tell. But of course, their interests are there, both Iran and Turkey. They will be trying to benefit out of whatever Afghanistan is offering to the world at this stage.
Dr. Farah, how would you explain Pakistan-Afghanistan bilateral relationship, and especially Pakistan's role in Afghanistan and peace in the region? How would you analyze this?
Pakistan-Afghanistan role, as I said, for two neighbors, I think having strong bilateral ties are very important. Pakistan has been a host of 1.5 million of refugees even in the past, right? And in this current situation, Pakistan always extended help and support to the Afghan population and the Taliban. But when it comes to Taliban, I think recognizing Taliban is one of the major barriers there. So to recognize, we can't do anything until we recognize them. And for getting recognition, we expect something from the Taliban. One is that the soil should not be used for any terrorist activities across the border. And secondly, the government has to be broad-based, which should include all minorities, ethnic groups, and women representation as well. So once they make these arrangements possible, Pakistan will be in a position to offer further support to the Taliban government to overcome the problems that they are facing today. But here we can say that in this time, Pakistan is not helping or supporting the Afghan population or the Taliban regime, because we opened several scholarships for the Afghan students here in our country. And this year, I think more than 30,000 applications were received, out of which only 400 were from the females. And those students who are studying here in the medical sector, in the engineering sectors, in several key departments, they are going back to Afghanistan and will be serving their people. It is said, according to Ambassador Sadiq, he said that in every Afghan hospital, there is a Pakistani medical graduate here. Of course, Afghan who studied here in Pakistan, so we have been doing it. And we will be extending our support to them because they, like as I said, their stability and peace is very important for our peace and security. So if we want to securitize ourselves, we have to think about our neighbors as well.
Dr. Farah, how would you conclude the current situation of Afghanistan and the role of regional players, as well as the prospects for the peace in the region, and suggestions for the leadership of these regional Afghanistan leadership? How would you conclude and this?
So I think the only solution to conclude this entire situation is that, first of all, Afghan people themselves, life began right from the basics, right? So the Afghan people, they have to build trust on their leaders. If they agree or if they disagree, it happens to be that Taliban are the leaders of Afghanistan today. So for that, I think they need to tease aside all their grievances and think about the larger 38 billion population, right? So it's important. For that, they have to also separate patriarchal norms from the religious divisions, right? Certain things that showcase in the Taliban's approach towards its population, particularly the females or women empowerment, they're all coming from patriarchal norms. It's not something that they are religiously inclined to. This is how they have been trained and brought up, that how they're going to treat women and what role women have in the political spheres. So suddenly at this age, they cannot change them. In terms of the leadership, I think they also need to give some room to the Afghan population to open up about the problems that they're facing today. And for that dialogue, discussion, negotiation, and I think giving a chance to speak to all the strata in society, I think this is very important. This is at the internal level. At the external level, I think recognizing Taliban from within and outside is very much important. So Taliban, the sooner the better they are able to include all segments of their society into their government, they will be able to get recognition from across the world and especially its regional partners. Because the Taliban's success and failure is completely dependent on the regional actors. And it is in the best interest of the regions not to fail Taliban. But they can't do anything if Taliban and Afghans themselves are not ready to help themselves, right? So to help themselves, they have to assure, at least provide some credible assurances that they will frame a government who is going to be broad-based, and it should have some women representation. At the same time, it has to ensure that its soil is not going to be used by any terrorist organization for any sort of activities across the borders, whether it be Pakistan, China, or Russia. We have spelled out our problems, our issues to the Taliban very categorically. Each one of us, I think, even China, Pakistan, and Russia, all are clear, including probably Iran and the Central Asian states as well. So they have to do something. Unless and until they are not ready to help themselves, we can't do anything for them, unfortunately.
Dr. Farah, thank you so much for your valuable, precious, and in-depth analysis on Afghanistan situation and the role of regional players as well as the peace in the region. Thank you so much for your time in the Beta program.
Thank you very much for having me. Take care. Bye.